Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast with Bryce Johnson. It's a show that unpacks sports, faith, and life with intriguing guests from the sports and entertainment world. Enjoy inspiring conversations and thought-provoking interviews. You'll hear stories from people that will inspire, challenge, and encourage you. Now, from the Unpacking It studios in Charlotte, North Carolina, uniting sports fans everywhere, here is Bryce Johnson.
Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast. I'm Bryce Johnson. It's the show that unpacks sports, faith, and life. Man, it is a weird, crazy, confusing time right now, and we are glad to be able to join you today. We hope that this show today can be an encouragement and an inspiration, and that we can just kind of gather together as sports fans, even though we're not in physical connection, but that we can connect through this podcast and know that we're in this together as sports fans, as followers of Jesus, and as fans of Unpacking It. And so glad to be with you. I am joined in studio by my producer, Chris Allison, and so we're going to get into a bunch of different topics today. We'll talk mainly life and kind of what's going on, and of course faith, and a couple interesting sports topics to discuss as well. As always, I want to thank our sponsor, Health Market Genius. You can get quotes for individual health insurance plans at healthmarketgenius.com. Know your options. Also, we're going to continue to do the Unpack This devotional. As long as God continues to give me ideas to write about, we'll write about them. And so that will come out every weekday as of now. And we'll see how things progress. But that's the plan, and we'll do some creative things with that as well. If you aren't subscribed, be sure to check out unpackingit.com/subscribe, where we take usually current sports stories, and so we'll have to be a little more creative with general sports stories, and maybe we'll be historic a little bit, and we'll see what ends up happening. But thanks for all the readers out there and the encouragement. Hopefully the last couple that I wrote, really about this virus and sports being canceled and everything going on. I hope that those were encouraging to you. If you haven't read those, check those out at unpackingit.com. On Friday, it was about how sports stopped, all the sports stopped, and using the time that we now have freed up, how are we going to fill that time? And can we really use that time to evaluate our lives, to spend more time with the Lord, to be able to read? I know I was able to read more this weekend, and it was very encouraging to me. So I hope that was true for you as well. And just as we don't have as much time to, or we don't have games to watch, how will we spend that time? And then also this idea where sports have stopped, what in our life can we evaluate to say, this needs to stop? I need to put this on pause. I need, some sin in our life that needs to be canceled out. And dealt with, or certain leagues and said, hey, the season's over. How can we approach that to certain things in our life that do need to stop? And then some things in our life, you know what? We need to pause that right now. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'm going to pause it and push forward later on. So using some of this time to evaluate what those things are in our own lives. I know for me here at Unpacking It, I've always got new projects, new things I'm excited about. Some of that stuff I'm going to have to put on hold right now. I don't have to trust God that at the right time He'll reveal to me when we should, bring those things kind of to the forefront. So I'm not sure what that is for you today, but hopefully that's something to think about and be encouraged by. But let's say hello to Chris Allison as we jump in here on the Unpacking It podcast. Chris, man, how you doing? It's a wild time.
It is, Bryce. It's great to see you. Thanks so much for having me in studio today as part of this podcast where we can share the word and we can to talk about sports as best we can during this time. And it is unprecedented, right? I mean, I'm 47. I've never seen anything like this. We had a team meeting last night. Our team, I have a team at home, right?
Do.
I have 5 children. and a beautiful wife, and we had a team meeting last night after I got back from the store and wrestled away a couple of Charmin, a couple of toilet paper packages and some.
But you went home with toilet paper.
I went home with toilet paper.
That's huge.
And I went home with paper towels.
Nice.
and dropped $42. So there you go. But I think, Bryce, there's so much that we can learn about ourselves, about our families, and about society and how to treat people in times like this. Because quite honestly, I saw some discouraging things. I saw a lot of encouraging things from the majority of people while, you're going through and trying to get your essentials for your family. And then there's a little bit of the discouraging that you see that you just go, man, as a society, we can't even be better. We can be better. So we not only have to take care of our families, but I think in this time we have to take care of our neighbors too. And that means maybe not rationing everything, make sure that there's enough to go around for everybody. So.
Yeah, the idea that I know it's like, I just got to take care of myself and my family.
Yeah.
I understand that. That's kind of our default perspective. But, man, if we really want to be like Jesus, we got to think about other people,
right.
And think about our neighbors and how can we help, how can we serve, and then not just take and hoard and all that. Now, of course, we want to be wise and
Sure.
get what we need. And, we were a little late to the game to get to the store, so last night my wife went there and there was nothing left.
Right.
So we bought I'm sure it's delicious bakery bread, but that's not the cheap bread. That's expensive bread. We got 2 little loaves of expensive bread.
Right.
She brought it home and I go, wait, that's for sandwiches? What do we got? So hey, maybe leave a loaf, take a loaf, leave a loaf.
There you go.
You don't have to take every loaf. But people are gonna have moldy bread by the end of this. So So yeah, I think this is an opportunity to reveal who we are and who's going to choose to serve, but then also who's going to choose faith over fear and hope over worry and peace over worry, and we can't do that in our own strength. And so I'm continuing to battle that. I'm getting ready today, looking in the mirror, and there are so many things that are creeping in to cause me anxiety and worry. And if you go down that path, it's a slippery, dangerous slope, because all of a sudden you start playing things out. You go, well, if this happens or that happens or this thing, causes this financially, and now all of a sudden we can't do this and that. And it's just, and everybody's got their own kind of game that they can play in their head. We have to pause. We have to trust that the Lord is in control. And even when things get as bad as they could get here, we know that we have an eternal hope that we have to cling to, because this world is temporary, and it's hard to do that, to focus on that, because we are just trying to get toilet paper. We are just trying to get enough bread and peanut butter and jelly and just to, see what's going to happen these next few weeks. So
that's a great point. And, as all of this, started, several weeks ago and has escalated now to where we are, to the point that in the state of North Carolina and other states around the country, school's out at this point for at least 2 weeks in the state that we live in North Carolina, and South Carolina is the same way. And, my first thought on that was, okay, if I'm a kid, I'm like, all right, 2-week vacation, this is going to be amazing. And, but as a parent, you don't look at it that way. As a parent, you go, okay, how can we utilize this at least 2-week period that our kids can still grow, educationally, grow our relationships as parents with our children, grow with our faith during this time. And, so I'm doing my best to, get to the backyard more and play wiffle ball.
Nice.
or kick the soccer ball, right? I'm trying to develop those relationships more with my older daughters. I've got daughters that are just about to enter the driving spectrum, right?
Yeah, I saw you post.
So
we test out.
We kind of,
Testing out the
we
car.
kind of snuck around to a deserted area in our neighborhood that had a good circle and at least got that first drive in, right?
Nice.
So just trying to develop those types of memories that that times right now where we can get our minds off of things that can pull you down, and so. I saw this online, and sometimes there's things online that can be very detrimental to our faith and our lives. And then there's things you read where you're like, wow, what a great idea. Like reading the devotional every day, right? From Unpacking It. So I saw someone post online that, put together a schedule during these at least 2-week period, during this period, where your kids still have structure, right? Where it's not just, okay, sleep till 11 and then get up at 8 and then go get the phone. And my 8th grade daughter took, I don't know, she just took it by the horns last night when I mentioned this. And she said, I'm going to develop the schedule. And, she had a little help online with kind of what I had seen. And she developed a full-blown 9 a.m. through about 1:45 p.m. schedule for the family, right? And for the, so it's, it started at 9 o'clock this morning. I think at 10 o'clock it was math. 11 o'clock was gym. They walked around the block and stretched out and everything. And it goes all the way to 1:45. Lunch is mixed in there, and science and social studies and all of these kinds of things, right?
Wow.
And so I thought, she was so excited yesterday to put this together. But what struck me as maybe the most proud moment of that entire list of the schedule? She decided she wanted to start 9 a.m. with Bible study.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
That's huge.
And so I saw that, and I said, okay, what an amazing thought to start your day with Bible study with, I've got kids that range between 15 years old all the way down to 6. And so I asked her, this is my 14-year-old. I asked her, I said, who's going to conduct Bible study? Do you want Dad to do that? Like, she said, Dad, I got it. I'm going to do it. So I got up this morning. She had 3 already. She had Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday mapped out.
And good for her.
I'm like, what is this, right?
So
it was so amazing. She did Acts 16, verse 31 today. And read the verse and asked questions. And she's got the 10 Commandments on her list tomorrow. And
good for her.
So we're taking moments, that are completely unusual. And I'm learning about my daughter. I had no idea she had this kind of passion in her to teach and lead. And so anyway, it's been a good day, right?
How
As we sit here today,
man.
It's been very encouraging.
Gosh, that's very, very encouraging to hear. And really, we all have the choice. How are we going to approach these next couple days, weeks? I hope not months, but potentially.
Maybe,
And it's very easy to be negative and miserable and allow the circumstances to take us over, or do we use this time to find value? And again, like I said, the kind of the free time that we now have available, because normally, at night I'm at least keeping an eye on a game or watching a game, and all weekend long I'm at least keeping an eye on the game or watching games. And so that's been my routine, and I was able to work on my horseshoe pit in the backyard a little bit over the weekend. Did some reading, hung out with Maddie, and it's funny. So, of course, this is supposed to be March Madness. You know what it is for me?
Yeah.
March Maddiness.
Yes.
We got a lot more March Maddiness. So
I like that.
And Maddie's doing great. So Maddie just turned 7 months on the 10th, and she's really at a great just spot, just personality-wise, smiling, laughing, even beginning to be affectionate and kind of understanding, just being sweet and that kind of thing. So it's been awesome. I'm loving the stage that we're at right now. Every stage is unique and fun. However, last night, little after midnight, I look at the clock and I go, you got to be kidding me, because what I'm hearing are the sounds of monkeys. Maddie is going nuts. She's up at midnight going nuts, yelling like a monkey, and she's happy and joyful. But what is she doing up? And why does she sound like a monkey? I mean, I'm just laying in bed going, what is happening? If things aren't tough enough, now I've got a monkey in the next room. So
and that's just night one.
That's night one.
She's just getting started.
Oh, my goodness. So I'm trying to figure out, where did this come from? What is going on? And I was trying to yell back to her. That didn't really work. It kept going. And then Jody was mad at me. So
right.
So anyway, that's what I'm dealing with right now. But
that's great.
But it's so it's fun / what in the world is going on right now? So, but as far as the weekend goes, I wanted to click around the TV to see, because I'm a programming media guy. So what was ESPN going to do? What were all the sports channels going to do all weekend long? And I think the idea that they went 30 for 30s and documentaries and all that, I think it was a good idea.
Right.
I have a lot of those already on DVR or on ESPN Plus, so I didn't need to watch them necessarily. But I thought, all right, that's a good idea. They were replaying old games, some old college basketball games, which were great. But there were also a few things they aired that made me scratch my head. But one thing in particular really intrigued me. Mm-hmm. It was called Slippery Stairs. Did you see this?
I did not.
This was unbelievable. So this was ESPN2, I think.
Okay.
Saturday morning, Slippery Stairs. These were kids and adults trying to climb some kind of contraption that was filled with slippery liquid. They would climb up and then slide down, climb up, slide down, and try to get to the top. And so the winner was able to make it up wearing these like tight suits, like bobsled suits type thing. Slippery Stairs. This was a real thing. So at some point they filmed this. This is actual league or an event kind of thing. Like college kids were doing this too. Unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to start watching some of this just to see how creative we can get,
So that was on the bowling, of course, made it.
Yes.
And I love to bowl, to actually bowl, but I can't get into watching bowling.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
So bowling it's kind of my sport.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of numbers are you bowling?
Well, I'm not anymore. See, that's the problem, right? I need to get back into it, right? I kind of quit 20 years ago, man. So, but I grew up in the sport. So I grew up watching those.
Really?
Oh my goodness. Part of my relationship with my father was, not only watching the baseball game of the week, because back when I was in the 13 and under, you got about a baseball game a week, and that was it. There's like 13 channels to watch. But then we would also watch the PBA tour on ABC with Bo Burton and Chris Schinkel, and we would watch we did not miss it every Saturday.
Here I am making fun of bowling, and you're the bowling
that's
guy.
That's right, I'm the bowling guy. So I've had 3 perfect games.
Stop it.
Yeah, and I
had no idea.
I've had 5 honor scores, so 3 perfect games, a 299 and a 290 and a 296, I think. But anyway,
I thought 130 was pretty good. My 130 high score.
I got to get back into it, right? It's one of those things that I got so busy in my media career, right? Because I don't work nearly as hard as I used to, Bryce. I used to work, man. It would be 6 a.m. 6 a.m. and my show would end at 7 p.m.
Oh.
And there was just no time to do those types of things, So golf was kind of out for the most part.
Well, 5 kids
played
too.
a little golf, but yeah. So that's something I'd like if maybe this time of reflection, I can find a way to get back into it because I do miss it. But yeah, I just probably my one regret maybe in life. Like when I look back, why did I go this route? College football, trying to play, trying to think I was a D1 athlete when in that sport I was not. Why not?
If you're bowling perfect games,
why not go this way, right? It would have been a whole different life for me, but I didn't do it. So
that's funny.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow.
So what else you want to poke fun at? Volleyball. Let's see. What's next?
Well, you had the Red Bull Ice Cross was on. I also saw there's such thing as a simulation league.
Okay.
Football.
Wow.
It's not Madden.
Uh-huh.
This is video game football, and I honestly could not figure out what was happening. But it looked pretty real,
right?
But it basically was Madden, but it was simulation, and they were like fake teams. They weren't NFL teams.
Okay.
So that was on TV. That was a thing.
Yes.
I have a new channel that I don't realize. It's I think it's esports channel. Mm-hmm. Elevation. What's it called? Something like that. Elevation channel or something. Elevate. So anyway, so that was on. And then tons of college basketball replays. NBA TV is strong right now.
Right.
They've got open court. I was watching Larry Bird, the old Celtics games.
Oh man.
And I got to admit, Bird is better than people think. Bird is awesome.
Bird is awesome.
Larry Bird is awesome. I know he gets mentioned, but sometimes I kind of downplay. Was he really that good?
Yeah.
Some of the shots he hit.
Yeah.
He's the real deal.
And the 3-point line, I'm trying to think.
It wasn't utilized as much, but he could. He could definitely hit the 3.
Man, no, early in his career, I don't think the 3-point line was even out. And he would.
Yeah, maybe not.
That guy would kick. He would kick it in from everywhere on the floor, and I loved watching Larry Bird back in the day. And I remember, maybe we could, I need to probably search for some of these, but, some of the old Laker-Celtic rivalries in the 70s and the playoffs and, the Magic and, the 76ers and the Lakers and just some of those unbelievable games and with Hall of Famers all over the floor. If I'm NBA TV, I'm bringing all of that back right now, right?
Yep.
And you know what's cool too? A lot of the kids, like my kid, I've got an 11-year-old son. He already recognizes all of these folks, all of these Hall of Famers that we grew up watching, because they're part of the legends on, let's say, NBA 2K.
Oh, yeah.
So he's
That's right.
already, connected to. I asked him yesterday. He goes, Dad, you want to play one game of NBA 2K with me? He goes, I'm going to be the Sixers legend team so I can see what Dr. J's got. And I'm like,
man, that's
11
cool.
years old. So some of the kids I think would even relate to at least know these names.
Yeah, and to see them from a video game perspective is interesting. And then now I'm watching the grainy 80s, late 80s, early 90s replays of some of these games. So
yeah,
I do like some of that. So that's pretty strong.
We've come a long way in high def, right?
Yeah. Oh, I know. No, it's crazy. It really is.
The way we used to have to watch games through grainy, fuzzy screens, and now you feel like you're there.
Gosh. Now you, like I said, you flip through and you see a simulation game, and it's not that far off.
I know.
It's like, wait, is that real? Is that the XFL? Oh no, it's a video game. Are you kidding me?
That's great.
So the reality is, sports were light this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
We know that, of course, but it gave me a chance to catch up on the DVR, watch the movie. I'm a big TV guy, so this time I love sports, and that usually takes priority over watching other stuff. Or the way I've got it set up in my man cave, when I'm with my wife on the weekends, we can watch a show that we both like, and then I've got on my secondary TV sports on. So now I can just focus in on the one TV. So I don't even necessarily have to have the second TV going. But I got to ask you a couple shows that we're into now. I'm curious if you're watching any of these. People will laugh at me. I feel like I hate to even admit this, but I'll boldly say I love The Masked Singer. Have you seen this?
It is one of our favorites.
All right, good.
Absolutely.
All right, good.
Yes.
It's almost like you have to be in the closet with it. But no, love it. It's a hilarious show.
This is season 2. Or 3, maybe. I think it's season 3. We've watched every season.
Yeah, I've watched every
episode.
episode.
Great show.
Great show.
It is. I would highly recommend, if you like watching any of the music shows. So let's say you're The Voice, The American Idol. If you like those types of shows, watch The Masked Singer.
And I would even say, so I don't watch those other shows.
Okay, yeah.
But I watch The Masked Singer.
Right, and I get it.
So yeah,
it's really good.
It's just so well for me. I just loved the guessing of who it could be.
Exactly.
And as somebody who's loves radio and voices, that concept of it, like, wait, do I know the tone of that voice?
Yes.
And so right now, I'll say it here on the show.
Yes.
One of our former guests is singing right now.
And you okay? You've just recognized
I'm guessing
that voice.
I'm guessing it.
Okay.
Barry Zito.
Barry Zito.
Barry Zito is the Is it the hippo or what?
Okay, there's a hippo on right now.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
I think that's who he
Yes.
is. The tall one. Whoever the tall.
That is Barry Zito.
That's Barry Zito.
Okay.
That's my
so
guess.
I'm taking that home.
So you've heard
I'm
that
I'm
now.
I'm going to pull that one out. I won't tell my wife when we're watching the next episode that you told me that.
Go with that.
Okay.
So I'm almost positive on him.
When he was on the show, you talked to him about his music ability.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so as soon as I started thinking, I go, oh, I forget which clue got me. In Nashville, there's a Nashville clue.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm in on Barry
Yeah.
Zito.
All right, so I'll give you one.
Oh, who do you
got? So I've got one, and I am 100%.
Yep.
Right. And they have not guessed this name yet on the show. The Banana.
The Banana.
The Banana. Do you know who the Banana is?
No, I don't know who the Banana is.
All right. So the Banana, lights out, game over. It's not anyone else but this guy. It's Bret Michaels. The lead singer of Poison is the Banana, and it's not even close. And it's
for sure.
Not even close. Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Like I've seen.
And that's you love that
kind of
era.
an 80s rock guy,
you
right?
like that.
So I've seen him in concert. I'll be in the closet about how many times I've seen this guy in concert, right? I mean, whether it's solo or with his band, including just recently in Rock Hill, South Carolina. But it's him. So hate to be spoiler alert for everyone listening. I feel like Donald Trump with my hands right now.
What are you doing with your hands?
I know. But it's Bret. And it's not even close.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So While you're watching
okay.
it, you can.
Now that you say, I mean, I know enough of his voice to.
You can see it's not his it's his voice. It's the way he struts. It's the way he points to the crowd. It's him.
That's great.
It's kind of cool.
And he would do something like that.
Yeah.
He's been in different reality shows.
No,
and all that.
He won The Apprentice, the Celebrity Apprentice.
Oh, he did.
He won.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that. So I think it was last season. I knew right away it was Chris Daughtry.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
of course.
Big Daughtry fan.
No question.
You knew him too?
Absolutely.
But nobody guessed him.
I know.
I don't think they guessed him at all the whole time.
I had it the whole way.
You did? Okay,
Absolutely.
I did too. I'm a big Daughtry guy.
I love Daughtry.
Yeah,
Again,
I've seen him in concert.
We kind of be hush about that. I've seen him a couple times too. You got to,
I don't know why. He's great.
It's not cool, I guess, to like Daughtry, but I like.
I don't know why. Hit after hit. And speaking of another band that's not cool to like,
Nickelback.
I like Nickelback, but the Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh yes.
I was leaving this morning, and my wife was watching TV, and the Goo Goo Dolls were performing on one of the morning shows. And they've got a new hit.
Yes.
They've still got it. They've been doing it forever.
I just saw them.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
I've seen them in concert
4 or 5 months ago. So yeah.
No, they're phenomenal.
Yes, man.
So
yeah.
Anyway,
see this is no more sports for a little while. So this is kind of where we reconnect with those other things.
Well, it's funny because people feel like all I know are sports because that's all I talk about.
Sure.
But I'm a huge music, movie, TV guy.
Oh yeah.
Like I mean, I love it all. So
Yeah.
I'm just a media guy overall. But so now it gives me a chance to catch up on some of this stuff. And like
Love it.
on Saturday, or maybe Sunday, I was playing music for Maddie. We were sitting around listening to music. She loves music.
That's great.
And I'm playing all sorts of different genres, seeing what she likes, and she was feeling it. Yep.
That's
Some of the
fantastic.
stuff growing up listening to. So it was cool.
Any other TV shows you're?
Speaking of with the Masked Singer, has Gronk? Have they announced?
Gronk's on the show.
He's on the show, but he hasn't been revealed yet, has he? But we just all know for sure that's Gronk.
Yeah, and I think it's this next week that they'll come back.
Okay, he made it through, which was shocking.
Yes. So Gronk is also he's on the show.
He was so obvious so quickly.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So there's no question.
got Gronk?
I forget what his.
I know, but he was so obvious.
Whatever he's dressed up as. But
so if you don't watch The Masked Singer, get in on that. Other shows, let's see. So some of our go-to shows, we like Bull, Last Man Standing. Love Tim Allen. You know what show just ended that was one of my favorites? Fresh Off the Boat.
I don't know that show.
Did you ever watch that?
A
Chinese-American family. Hilarious.
Wow.
Basically, it takes place in the 90s.
Okay.
So it's like when I grew up, and I'm one of 3 boys, so they have 3 boys, and we watched them grow up. That show just ended, so I was bummed to see that end. Another one of my favorite shows ended in the fall, Suits.
Okay.
Did you ever get into Suits?
My wife watched Suits. I did not necessarily get into it, but yes, it's one of her shows.
Yeah,
sure.
I got into that early. And that show is all about friendship and coworkers being friends. Really cool show.
Yeah.
But that ended. So those are some of my go-tos.
We're into. I do like the Chicago shows. So
you do? I never watched
Chicago
any of those.
Med. I can't do because I just sometimes medical emergencies kind of freak me out a little bit. I just have a hard time really staying with it. But Chicago Fire is after Chicago Med. It's really good. And Chicago PD is fantastic. I've always enjoyed those series, at least. I kind of I normally go edit Unpacking It while Chicago Med is on.
There you go.
Then I'll come back over and
Nice.
watch the other 2 shows. So we dig those shows and all the music shows.
Okay, so you're all in on those.
Really enjoy. So it's a good time to reconnect,
Yeah.
Although a lot of these shows may not be in production here for a little while. We'll have to see what happens with that. But
that's a good point.
yeah, you kind of wait to see. The one thing about The Masked Singer, it's all taped.
It's done. It's already done.
Yeah, it's already done. So
we're good to go there.
we're good to go.
Yeah,
at least
you can't
with
be
that
leaving me
show.
hanging on that. But I watch a lot of I record DVR the late night talk shows, and I'm actually different. I like the interviews.
Okay.
Some people watch these guys for the monologues. I'm the opposite. I go for the interviews. So I record when actors or whatever that I like are on. So able to catch up on some of those, but they're about to do that without studio audiences.
Yes.
All those guys are recording. Colbert and Fallon and Kimmel.
Yeah.
All those guys. So I am catching up on those. And another show that I always record is Inside the NBA. And I had gotten a little bit behind, so I'm rewatching some of Inside the NBA, and that's funny to watch now that the NBA is canceled for now or postponed. So I've been watching a little bit of that. So
Yes.
anyway, that's some of the stuff we're catching up on. There is one sport that seems to still be moving along, which is the NFL. So we're waiting to see, maybe right now as we're recording, the new league is supposed to get going this week, or everything becomes official. They can start talking to free agents, all that kind of thing. But we're already seeing some guys sign extensions. Saw Kirk Cousins, which is interesting. They've given him more money. I mean, I scratch my head a little bit. Like, I like him, but he's been on the show before. But the amount of confidence the Vikings have in Cousins is surprising to me. I'll put it that way. But that's okay.
Yes.
But the big news, the new CBA. So we'll talk a little bit about this and the idea that now we're going to see an extended season next year. But we're already going to see the expanded playoff, which is interesting. So 2 more teams make the playoffs, and I'm in favor of this. So I'm the commissioner of my fantasy league, and I've always been in favor of, we have 14 owners. 8 out of the 14 make the playoffs. And the reason I like it for fantasy and now for the NFL, more teams are alive to fight for the playoffs. And to me, that adds more intrigue down the stretch. And I like that only one team now in the NFL will get a bye. I like teams playing. I haven't always been a fan of the bye. And in fantasy, no buys. I'm not a fan of buys in fantasy. I want to play. And so with the NFL now, the number 1 seed will get a bye, and now we'll get 3 wild card games on Saturday, 3 wild card games on Sunday. Most likely, I was reading all about it, how the TV schedule will be. Most likely it will be a 1 o'clock, 4:30, and 8 o'clock. We'll be loaded up for 2 days, baby.
Yes, I love it.
I'm in.
Yeah, I am too. And there's 32 NFL teams, right? And now we're up to 14. That make the playoffs. So it's still
less than half the league.
Still less than half the league. The counter argument to what you're saying is, that there's more competition at the end of the season for fighting for playoff spots, which is absolutely true. I guess the counterpoint to that would be, but maybe the regular season games become a little bit less important in some people's minds in the beginning of the, as the season's going along. I don't buy into that. I
don't think one game.
Every NFL team hits the field to win. And unless you're already eliminated and you want a better draft spot, and then you put Kyle Allen out and you do what the Panthers did at the end of the season, because I don't think they were real interested in winning games on the back end of last year. But the point is, 14 teams make the playoffs. You get the 6, you get the 3 wild card games each day, and I think it's the bye situation's interesting because the way it had been, 2 teams get a bye. So if you're 14-1, or let's say you're 14-1 going into week 17 because you've had your bye week, and the other team is 13-2, but then everyone else below that. So you already who your bye teams are going to be. So those 2 teams kind of coast at the end of the year. Well, now it's not going to necessarily be the case.
Unless there's one runaway team.
Unless there's a runaway team. But if you're within a game, then you're not going to see a lot of resting guys and that kind of stuff in week 17. They're going to be playing.
Or week 18.
Or week 18 at that point.
Yeah,
right.
now it would be week 18.
They're going to be playing. So it's going to be fun to watch all of this.
Yeah,
so.
I think I was against adding 2 more games. It just seemed like, wow, now we're really changing things, and especially with player safety and all that. But to take 1 preseason game away, which that 4th one was always weak anyway.
And now that's going to be a bye week, so to speak,
Yeah, right before the year.
Yeah.
So they play three preseason games, then a bye, then you start the season. And the best thing that I don't know if this is getting publicized enough, if the schedule plays out how we expect it to, the Super Bowl will be on the Sunday, the day before President's Day.
Okay.
And most people have President's Day off.
All right. Okay.
It's now a holiday. We finally get the post-Super Bowl holiday.
That's great.
Now, for us in the sports world, we love to work that day anyway, so we'll do a podcast and everything else we do. But just in general, people get off.
Yes.
And so now Super Bowl parties can be even more fun.
There you go.
So
I like it.
I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I'm in. I like it.
But yeah, a lot of people were like, oh, get rid of preseason. Like, we don't need preseason. I do think you got to ease into the year. It's so hard to go from, especially now with training camp, it's not as intense as it once was.
That's true.
For guys to just flip a switch. Now, they do it in college football, I get, but a lot of times they have warm-up games. Not everyone, but some. even though don't call App State a warm-up game. Right, Michigan?
There you go.
But to go, okay, training camp, preseason, regular season, the intensity level, it kind of eases in. So I understand the value of preseason and guys fighting for a roster. But that fourth game always seemed to be a waste.
Right.
It was like those guys even playing the roster a lot of times.
A lot of times. And it wasn't a waste for probably 3 guys on the roster.
3 guys.
And the general manager trying to figure out, all right, I'm trying to fill spots 47, 48, and 49, or whatever. So,
but as fans, we couldn't even really watch those games.
No, unwatchable.
So now we get 3. Like the first 2, it's like, oh, football's back.
Yes.
And then whoever the backups are, oh, okay, cool. We get to see some of the rookies play and get in there. And then game 3 is really that dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get to play.
And then you got a bye week, so a week off in between. So I would still expect game 3 to be the big one, right? That's the one you'll play your starters through the second, through halftime and into the third quarter. So looking forward to it.
So I like I think the CBA from a fan's perspective, that's what we focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I'm not worried about whether guys are making millions more or less. It's not my concern. I'm trying to keep my own world afloat here. But as far as how it affects us, I am curious. I was reading all about the TV deals. I am curious how, ABC, Fox, CBS, all of them divvy up games moving forward. This opens up, of course, another week of games. Will that mean more international games? Because there is this extra week where it's been set up so cleanly where you have 8 home games, 8 away games, and then 1 bye in a 17-week season. Now it's different. And will they even add another bye week during the season? I think is another question mark. I'm not fully sure on how that will play out. And so after Thursday night games, will then teams get a bye? After traveling to London, then they get a bye, that kind of thing. And then will some seasons you get less home games than someone else? How does that factor into a competitive advantage? How many neutral sites? I've heard other people, I think Dan Patrick was talking about it. How cool would it be to have neutral games at college football spots, like going to Nebraska to have an NFL game in Nebraska at a neutral site?
Right.
To me, that's cool.
It'd be amazing.
Give some of these other cities that don't normally have NFL but have big stadiums that could pack it out. I think there's some things you can explore moving forward with that extra week.
Yeah. I heard a caller from the state of Montana before the NCAA tournament was postponed. He was like, "Hey, we're good up here. We don't get to see sports like this, in person. Move everything here,
we have no viruses up there.
Yeah, we're good, So, kind of, it would. It'll be interesting just to see how everything is laid out, but with certainly with the CBA changes coming up in the year of 2020 for the National Football League.
Or 20.
2020. So this coming season, they're moving to 17 games. So look forward to just seeing how all this works out. But just go Chiefs, right?
There you go. Coming back, the reigning champs.
I guess it will affect too. I mean, you start thinking about, and again, NFL records aren't necessarily as, we know the numbers in baseball. We know the home run numbers. And NFL records are not, Drew Brees has got, the most yards. But, I mean, now you're going to have 17 games instead of 16. So that, for those that are, diehard record type people, it is going to affect some of those things, I guess. But
then it always goes back to eras.
Right.
You got to look at eras.
Exactly.
You got to compare Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, contemporaries, those kind of guys.
Yeah, hard to compare that to Troy Aikman.
Yeah.
I don't know if Troy Aikman ever threw for 3,000 yards.
Or ever threw it over 30 times in a game.
Exactly. 2,500 to 3,000 yards when he played was a good number. Now we see 5,000-yard seasons, so it's a whole different baby.
It is. And it'll be – and it was only getting – those numbers were being skewed even more so. And now with guys like Lamar Jackson running the ball more, I mean – stats are just crazy. Well, and plus the rule changes. I mean, it's just, and those are only changing more to encourage offense. And that extra game will affect things for sure.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Because I was always with college football and their overtime rule, it's more fun to watch.
Yes.
But it always messes me up as a fantasy, even though I don't play college football fantasy. It's like, come on, this guy now threw for 8 touchdowns. It's ridiculous. Right. You can't do that in the NFL.
Right.
Because that would really mess up fantasy. Could you imagine if they did the college overtime game in the NFL?
You'd have to limit Like
Oh, my
your
goodness.
touchdown passes would have to be worth like 2 instead of 6. I mean, you have to
you could
change
not
things
do
up.
that.
Just your overtime touchdowns. So
because that would be outrageous.
Right.
So anyway, so now, with an extra game, that makes it interesting. And as a commissioner of fantasy, we actually had a sweet schedule because we have 14 teams, 13 weeks. You play everybody.
Sure.
Everybody once.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
And then so that's through 13 weeks, and then 14, 15, 16 are your playoffs.
Yeah.
And now that's messed up.
That's
I don't know what we'll do. We may just keep that.
Reconfigure.
We may just keep that same schedule and do something different for
Yeah.
weeks 17 and 18.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
A lot to think about. I got a lot to contemplate.
You could add two more teams. Now you got 16.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, you could maybe go that route. I don't know.
That's interesting. It waters down the pool of players.
Right.
That's okay.
That's a lot of. That's 16 teams in a fantasy league's a lot of teams though.
You can shrink. You can shrink your bench and shrink your starters.
Yeah.
You go one receiver instead of two. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Something to think about with no sports going on. We're still wondering, where's Tom Brady going to go, though?
Yes.
He's not going to the Titans.
No.
How about Ryan Tannehill getting a
Right.
huge deal?
That's right. Yeah.
Huge deal. Bringing him back. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. I don't know if it's good for them, but I mean, he certainly had moments last year where he was, that was a good football team last year, by the way. The Titans were really a lot, they were pretty balanced on both sides of the football. So.
And they're running it back.
Yeah.
They franchised Derrick Henry, and I'm intrigued by them for sure.
Yeah.
But Tannehill, gosh, it just shows you certain guys, they can have a great second half of their career, and I think that gives hope to even Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston.
Sure.
That if they go to a new team, new opportunity, even starting as a backup, I think about guys like Josh McCown later in his career, got that opportunity. Even if it doesn't work, that first go around. Right. So, and maybe even a guy like Mitch Trubisky, it might not work out in Chicago. Maybe later on in his career it could work. So Ryan Tannehill, I think, gives hope to certain guys that came in as higher draft picks, didn't quite fit, circumstances surrounding those players. You go somewhere else and you get a good run game, a good defense. Now all of a sudden he's the right fit. Tannehill's the right fit in Tennessee. So pretty interesting. All right, man. Well, anything else?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for the time. We came here with a lot of, I think, positive energy, and I've been smiling for the last half hour. So that's what it's all about, right?
Hey, talk a little Masked Singer.
That's right.
Your boy Brett Michaels.
Barry Zito. That's right.
Go watch The Masked Singer, guys. Catch up on The Masked Singer. If you watch The Masked Singer, I expect an email.
That's right.
And you let us know that you're in the circle. People are watching. It's like a huge show.
Yeah.
But I feel like people won't admit it.
Right.
Nobody admits it. But the email, Bryce@unpackingit.com. And let's wrap up the show with Unpack This. So my thought to unpack today is all about this idea that we are missing out on sports right now. And it's March, and it's like, wait, what do we do with ourselves? This time of year, I'm supposed to be filling out my bracket. I'm missing out on that. I'm missing out on seeing the conference championships from this past weekend and the bracket show. And it really hit me last night. I'm flipping through the channels, and what was scheduled was a breakdown of the bracket. This was probably, 8 o'clock at night, which would have been after the release of the bracket. There's a show on CBS Sports Network that should have been discussing it, but instead it was some other random, I can't remember what it was. But this idea that we are missing out on sports. We are missing out on the NBA and college basketball and everything else. And there was even a notification that popped up that said, this idea about the NBA suspension, what if it ends up being permanent? And the notification said 5 storylines we might miss out on if the season doesn't resume. And then and that was from The Athletic. Then on ESPN.com, there's an article with the headline, "What if? Some of the possible storylines we'll miss in the 2020 NCAA tournament." And so constant reminders of what we're missing, what we're not getting, what we don't get to experience right now in the sports world as sports fans. And the reality is missing out on basketball might be front and center right now, but we deal with these types of feelings a lot. The feelings of missing out. People call it FOMO, the fear of missing out. And it attacks all of us in different ways. And from a life perspective, you've got people who hold back from getting married because they're afraid they're going to miss out on the single life or some kind of perceived freedom that they think they have. And then I know for me now as a new dad, we're forced to say no to so many social activities, which leaves me contemplating what I'm missing out on. It's like, oh man, I didn't get to go to this game or that game or whatever. Especially in the fall, I said no to more things than I ever have in my life, and so you're like missing out on things. And then at work, I've got the fear of missing out oftentimes, and I'll say yes to more things than I can really handle. It's like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that. Oh yeah, I don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Let's get lunch or let's do this. And it's like, oh, it's that fear of missing out. And so this idea it's regular. It's a regular thing. Right now, it's specific to basketball, but we experience it a lot. But what I started thinking about is how the idea of missing out infiltrates whether or not we decide to follow Jesus and follow him each day. So in general, surrendering, giving our life to Jesus, but then also, dying to ourselves each day. And so it becomes, if I truly follow Jesus today, what am I missing out on? That's what we get concerned about. And so he calls us to surrender, to give up our life, to take up our cross, to die to ourselves. And we have to ask, what am I willing to give up, sacrifice, or let go of? And oftentimes it's really hard to do. And so many hesitate to go all in with Jesus because they don't like missing out on what the world has to offer. And so the common thing to say is, well, what do you mean? I'm going to have to make changes at work or with my lifestyle or certain choices. And maybe the way that I spend my time, I'm going to be missing out on this or that if I decide to follow Jesus. And so too many people would rather, not miss out on the fun of life or power, money, worldly success, so they decide not to follow Jesus. But what's so crazy and the truth that really is there is that missing out on all of that stuff is the wrong perspective on what we're missing out on. The choice to not follow Jesus and be with him forever is truly missing out. Like, that's what missing out is. Not all this stuff with the world. I mean, that stuff is so temporary, and they're just temporary satisfactions that the world tricks us into thinking that we need or that's what we should want. But anything we give up to surrender, in surrender and sacrifice for Jesus as we follow him is absolutely worth it. And it's the best choice we can make. We're not missing out on stuff, and even if we are, it doesn't matter. It pales in comparison to what we gain with Christ. And this verse in Matthew chapter 10, verse 39, sums this up pretty well. And, the verse is powerful, and you've maybe heard it before, and it's one of those verses that you really have to meditate on and consider. And so for today's devotional, I shared all three verses if you get the written version in your email inbox. But I'll share these with you right now. So it's Matthew 10:39. It says, whoever finds his life in this world, and this is the Amplified version, whoever finds his life in this world will eventually lose it through death. And whoever loses his life in this world for my sake will find it. That is life with me for all eternity. So this is what Jesus is saying as he encourages his, to say, come follow me, die to yourself, take up your cross every day. And then in the New Living Translation, it says, if you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. And so it's this complete turnaround from our mindset. It's going from, oh, no, I'm afraid I'm going to miss out on this or that in life and in the world in order to follow Jesus. But it's, no. I don't want to miss out on the joy and the peace and the eternal life that Jesus has to offer me. That's what I don't want to miss out on. So I'm going to surrender. I'm going to sacrifice. I'm going to give up anything else the world has to offer. It doesn't matter because I'm going to follow Jesus. And in the Message version, kind of the paraphrase of verse 38 and 39, it says, if you don't go all the way with me through thick and thin, you don't deserve me. If your first concern is to look after yourself, you'll never find yourself. But if you forget about yourself and look to me, you'll find both yourself and me today. But if you forget about yourself and look to me, you'll find both yourself and me. So the reality is, when we give up our own way, we surrender, we find the Lord, we find our true self, we find our true life, we find everything that we need, and we're no longer concerned about what we're missing out on. Jesus satisfies, Jesus fulfills, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And so today, I hope that that's an encouragement to you to truly sacrifice, to truly give up whatever we're holding back, to follow him and enjoy the life that he has for us, both now and for eternity. And so go check out that verse for yourself, Matthew 10:39. Meditate on it, consider it, and unpack it today. And let's stop worrying about what we might miss out on if we follow Jesus. Man, it's so much more to be concerned about what we're missing out on if we're not living the full life in him, the life that he has for us. Man, I don't want to miss out on what Jesus has for me today and moving forward. Hang in there. I know this is a tricky time for all of us, and we just got to keep looking to the cross. Let's keep looking to the cross. I'm Bryce Johnson. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sin. He was resurrected, and through faith, I have been saved by his grace. I hope that is true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. Thanks so much for listening. Appreciate the emails, Bryce@unpackingit.com. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast.
For more information about the show, our events, and other resources, visit unpackingit.com. That's unpackingit.com. We hope you are encouraged, inspired, and challenged by what you heard today. To support our show and Unpacking It Ministries with a financial gift, visit unpackingit.com/donate. We look forward to unpacking sports, faith, and life with you again next week.